The year might not actually be 2025. Some historians believe the Catholic Church invented 300 years of fake history to control the narrative. If that proves to be right, we're actually living in 1725 right now.
Come on, you can't just delete 3 centuries from history. That would require rewriting every document and every chronicle across the world.
That's exactly what happened. And this is not some crazy conspiracy, it's the phantom time hypothesis, which was proposed in 1991 by the very respectable German historian Herbert Illig. He believes the history from 614 to 911 never existed. All these years were fabricated by 3 of the most powerful men in medieval Europe: Holy Roman Emperor Otto III, Pope Sylvester II, and possibly Byzantine Emperor Constantine VII.
And why would they do something so insane?
They all had their different motives. Otto III was obsessed with being the ruler in year 1000, the millennium of Christ. But he was born 300 years too early, so instead of waiting, they just moved time forward by adding history that never happened. They added 297 phantom years to make Otto the millennial emperor.
If something so ridiculous happened, there would be a ton of evidence.
The evidence is everywhere if you know where to look. First, why are there so few manuscripts dating between the 600s and the 900s? We call these years the Dark Ages because there were no books written during that period. But what if we don't find any books from these centuries exactly because they never existed? There are no books, no progress, like someone just skipped these centuries.
Medieval Europe was chaotic. Vikings burnt monasteries, and wars destroyed libraries. Parchment was so valuable that scribes would scrape old texts clean to reuse them.
Then explain the calendar math. Calendar gains 1 day every 128 years. That happens because the Julian calendar treats the year as 365.25 days instead of the real 0.242. The calendar runs 11 minutes long each year, and that adds up to roughly 1 extra day every 128 years. From Julius Caesar in 45 BC to Pope Gregory in 1582, that's 1627 years. When we do the math, that means in 1582 we should remove 13 days of error. But in that year, they decided to do a correction. They realized the spring equinox was not on the correct date, so they corrected it by 10 days. But theoretically, they should have corrected it by 13 because of all these years. Those missing 3 days, that's roughly 300 years unaccounted for.
You are assuming that Pope Gregory was syncing with Julius Caesar's calendar from 45 BC, but he wasn't. He was realigning Easter with the Council of Nicaea from 325 AD. Do the math from 325 to 1582, and you get exactly 10 days of drift. The numbers work perfectly.
That might be the case, but how do you explain the architectural anomalies? Buildings supposedly from the 800s look suspiciously like Roman buildings, like genuine Roman buildings, as if Rome fell and then immediately it bounced back centuries later.
That's what humans do after catastrophes. We revive old styles. We rely on what's certain. And the Dark Ages were a catastrophe.
And then there's Charlemagne, the greatest emperor of the Phantom centuries. He was crowned on Christmas Day in the year 800, and briefly after, he unified Europe, but we somehow magically have 0 original documents from his time. Everything we have is copies of copies written centuries later. Tell me then, how does the most powerful man in Europe leave no contemporary evidence of his existence?
Because medieval records keeping was terrible. Most documents were recopied by monks, and originals rarely survived. We don't have originals from lots of historical figures, it's not just Charlemagne. But that doesn't mean they didn't exist.
Well, it's not just Europe. Phantom time perfectly aligns with gaps in the archaeological record. Coins from that period are suspiciously rare. Trade routes that should have been bustling show no activity whatsoever.
Alright, I've had enough. Let me destroy this theory with one word: astronomy. Ancient Chinese astronomers recorded a solar eclipse on May 20th, 616. Islamic scholars documented April 14th, 809. Modern software can calculate exactly where and when every eclipse has happened for the last 3,000 years. They all match perfectly with the conventional timeline. If 300 years were faked, these celestial events would be off by centuries.
Unless they backdated the records to match the new timeline.
You'd think Olo III convinced Chinese astronomers, Islamic scholars, and Byzantine chroniclers, all people who never even heard of him, to fake their eclipse records? That's insane, don't you think?
Not if conspiracy went deeper than just Otto. Constantine VII was a Byzantine emperor and a scholar who literally rewrote the two most influential history books at the time. He had connections across the known world. And we know he had the power to change history because he actually did.
I don't deny history is often rewritten. It's clearly written by the victors. That doesn't mean this happened. Can you explain Halley's Comet? It swings by Earth every 75, 76 years like clockwork. Chinese astronomers logged it in 684, 760, and 837. That 837 pass came extraordinarily close to Earth. Japanese monks, Islamic astronomers, and European chroniclers all recorded this spectacular display. There are paintings that show it in 1086. Remove 300 years, and the entire astronomical sequence breaks.
What if Halley's Comet observations were retroactively calculated and inserted into the records? Medieval astronomers knew about periodic comets. They could have worked backward. It's the Pope we're talking about. He was the most powerful man on Earth alongside Otto III. And Pope Sylvester II wasn't just any pope. He was a mathematical genius. Many called him a magician because of his knowledge. He introduced Arabic numerals to Europe. He built astronomical instruments and possibly invented the mechanical clock. If anyone could orchestrate a calendar conspiracy, it's certainly him.
Being smart doesn't mean he rewrote history. Look at the physical evidence. Dendrochronology, the science of tree-ring dating, gives us year-by-year records. German oak sequences run continuously through your supposed phantom centuries. You can literally count the rings every year throughout these 300 missing years. No gaps.
That's absurd. Trees wouldn't be affected by our dating of time. They will always have the same number of rings. We're talking about the deletion of history here, not of actual time.
Look, this is not what I meant. Ice cores from Greenland show annual layers with volcanic ash from eruptions we know happened during these phantom centuries because they were recorded by the historians living in these centuries. You can't fake ice layers that formed over millennia.
But explain this. Why does every major technological advancement suddenly appear around the year 1000? Windmills, heavy plows, the three-field system, and Gothic architecture, it's like architecture hit fast forward right after the phantom centuries.
Because that's when Europe finally recovered from the actual Dark Ages. The population grew, trade resumed, and knowledge from the Islamic world flowed in. It wasn't a jump, it was more of a recovery.
The Islamic world, that's interesting you mentioned them. During the phantom centuries, the Islamic calendar and the Christian calendar get mysteriously out of sync. The Islamic calendar is purely lunar, 354 days per year. The Christian calendar is solar, 365 days. Over 300 years, they should drift apart by specific amounts. But the drift doesn't match what we'd expect if those years really happened. Think about what that means. If they could fake 300 years, what else have they faked? How much of our history is real?
Look, the world beyond Europe completely destroys this hypothesis. Tang Dynasty in China has detailed records through all these centuries. Tax records, poetry, imperial edicts. The Islamic world expanded from Arabia to Spain during these exact years. The Maya were building cities. Did Otto III somehow convince the Chinese emperor and the Mayan astronomers to add 300 fake years to their histories too, when North and South America hadn't even been discovered at the time?
Unless there was a global reset that we don't know about. A catastrophe that destroyed records worldwide, and when civilization rebuilt, they had to guess how much time had passed.
Now you're just making things up. Every culture independently recorded the same fake centuries? Come on.
You know what's magical thinking? Believing that Charlemagne, this larger-than-life figure who supposedly created modern Europe, left absolutely no contemporary evidence behind. Not one coin with his face was minted during his lifetime, not one original document, not one piece of art, just stories written centuries later. He was the richest person in the world, and he left nothing behind him.
We have coins from Charlemagne's era, thousands of them.
All of this dated by historians who believe in the phantom time. Circular reasoning. In 1582, when Pope Gregory reformed the calendar, he had a choice: admit the church had been wrong about dates for centuries, or cover it up by inventing a mathematical explanation.
Or the Dark Ages were dark because they were actually dark, difficult, chaotic, poorly documented, but very real. Every piece of physical evidence, tree rings, ice cores, astronomy, carbon dating, everything confirms the traditional timeline. The phantom time hypothesis is fascinating, but it is fiction.
You can explain away each piece individually, but together, the missing documents, the calendar discrepancy, the architectural anomalies, and the sudden technological leap, it's quite convenient. The years from 614 to 911 never happened. I'm Dankso Isoko, and I thank you for watching Into the Unknown.
Please let us know in the comments what you think the answer is.
And we hope to see you in the next video.